But right now, Jim was about to answer, and it's time to ask your opponents, in this case the pro side, it'd be hard to ask, or counter some of their inputs as you see fit. And again, we've got 10 minutes each.
All right. Thanks, Henry. Thanks for keeping us honest on this. So the point of the infrastructure, this is infrastructure. This is a gymnasium, and call it what it is. The city's gone through and revised the parking. It was supposed to have structured parking. I believe some of that has gone to the wayside to try to push the costs lower, so they got rid of the structured parking. This isn't going to improve the streets. This isn't going to improve stormwater runoff that's required to actually get the town center up and running. In fact, you can go look at the situation with the gentleman that owns the Ace Hardware. I believe he tried to go and get the Caboose property. Couldn't do it because he couldn't afford the infrastructure improvements that had to go for the roads and the stormwater runoff. Killed the project right there and then. Okay, so this isn't about infrastructure from the perspective of building it and as an economic incubator, a retail facility, or that the whole density issue that we have in town center. This does nothing for that. So let's make sure we speak fact. I'm going to go back to, and I know I'm not asking any questions here, because I think there's some other points that I want to stress. You know, one of the things nobody's ever asked, and I know, how ridiculous would this be, right? Would anybody ever refund? Would our city council say, oh, 25 million? You know, one of the other aspects of that is that could all be refunded to us, right? But would that ever happen? No, because then we could take that money and I could go buy a gym membership at a local club and do it that way. That's not an option. So these are all the things you got to think about as you go to make this vote, right? Is this truly the best use? And I'm trying to get us back onto the true point of, is this the best use of $25 million, probably 30, and then it's going to be 35 with the Y thrown in? Is that the best use for this funds? Clearly, no. I do have a question on the why. So the $1,200, I did a quick back of the math, seemed to get my numbers right, about $1,200 annually. That's pretty close there, maybe an under actually. I'll give you $50 here or there. Swimming lessons. Is that included in that for kids, or is that additional?
Swimming lessons is the only thing that's additional. And I'll address some of the questions about that, but swimming lessons is additional.
Okay. So, and I don't know how much those are.
60 to $75 depending upon.
All right, so we talked about how great it is for the children, right? So we have to have the family spend $1,200, and we have to have, if they want swimming lessons, they have to put in another, who knows how much. So hopefully the families up here can afford that and swing it, right? Now I'm certainly not wealthy, but I'm certainly not hurting, right? I'd have to think strongly if I could afford that amount of money. And just so you know, and that's my money that you're going to use, or the city would bill to put it in. I don't agree with that. The next question. What happens if you operate cash flow negative?
Then,
Here, I'm sorry.
Cash flow negative.
So if it's hemorrhaging, right? If it's hemorrhaging cash because they can't cover their costs by the membership, what's going to happen?
So if for example, in a yearly basis, if there was a deficit, the YMCA would cover that loss, 100%.
How long? For how long?
We would have an operating agreement with the city of Sammamish for 40 years, and we would cover that for 40 years. That is our agreement. That's our arrangement with the city of Sammamish. Now, do I believe that we're going to do that? No. Our history has proven that the YMCA is a fiscally responsible organization. We have bad years, just like any other business organization. But that's the beauty and the strength of our organization, is that we're one, and that we can figure out how to right ourselves and get us in a position where we can be fiscally responsible and have a balanced budget.
So I might just add to that there is the operating agreement is being negotiated. I guess I could say as we, well, maybe not literally as we speak right now. but is being negotiated, and so some of the details have yet to be worked out. I know there's some people who are concerned, and I know it was expressed at the last Citizens for Sammamish meeting, that actually there's a number of people at that last meeting who were very supportive of this facility. What they were concerned about was that the city was going to make the agreement into our process unpalatable, or for the Y, that it wouldn't work, that they would add too many restrictions or make the facility too big or whatever. And I guess what I would like to say is that I'm pretty confident that the YMCA is not going to engage in an agreement, enter an agreement that they believe that they won't be successful with. And so they're, in those situations, I think that there'll be, quite frankly, there'll be some pushback from the YMCA.
So,
You get another 3 or 4 minutes.
okay, thank you, sir.
Questions?
Yeah, just one question on that. Why are you having negotiations with the city at this point in time if this is supposed to be out for an advisory vote? I mean, doesn't that seem to me, I mean, I don't know, it just seems like, well, the city's already decided no matter what comes through on this thing, because we've already decided it's the why we're going to get this jammed down our throat. Now, I could probably go to city council next meeting and present that same question to the 5 council members, and they can filter it down. So you probably don't have to answer, because I'll probably show it to the next city council meeting.
Well,
and do that very thing.
It's a pretty simple answer, is that there's many people here tonight that would like there to be a completed operating agreement before they vote. So,
But that's an anti-competitive practice that you've already entered into.
I'd like, before we run out of time, I would just like to know why this is not put out to a competitive bid. And actually, before you do that, my comment was, I wasn't against building a community center. I was against choosing to build a community center and handing it over to the YMCA for free. If you can build a community center and make money, if you can offer and not put the government in competition with private business. If private business wants to build it for us, I'm all for it. But I'm not all for us taking $25 million. But now let's get back to the question of why is this not being put out to bid?
I'm not in a position to answer that. I think that would have to be addressed by city council members.
You said it was a natural choice. Sounds like it was.
Well, what I said was, I said that the YMCA is a natural choice.
Sounds like it's decided. It's a natural choice.
I did not say that the city.
Dave, it's okay. We're continuing on. We're losing our time.
Well, we still have some time for questions and answers. We're not quite to that point.
And to answer the other question is
You got 1
it
minute.
was very good that you pointed out that Issaquah and Redmond are in financial difficulty. Had we gone out and spent $75 million, we might be in financial difficulty. We live in a great area where there's a lot of houses being built. We charge developers an arm and a leg, and then an arm and a leg. I talk to developers all the time. I finance developers. But guess what? They can make money today, so they're building here. We have a housing downturn. We spend all our reserves. And I don't want to end up like other cities. I'm really, like I said, fiscally responsible, and I would rather we keep more in reserves. I'd rather we build infrastructures or areas we know that we need to spend money on. I know we have some environmental, some stormwater issues. I think we need to solve the issues we have to take care of first. If we build a better tax base, then I believe we should be looking at community centers and other things. Do you have any questions? We've got 30 seconds.
No, let's turn it over. Let's see
Okay.
what we've got coming at us.
Okay, let's take just a breather. Not much of one, but we'll be coming to the close side now to question anything that they have proposed or any questions that haven't been resolved that you'd like to address based on what they've said, if any. If not, we can move on. But having taken a few seconds, do you have something you'd like to address that they've put forth that you'd like to counter in any way?
Well, begin with both Arthur and Jim have said we should be adding ball fields. Well, we are adding ball field right now at East Lake High School, another turf field that is being, another synthetic turf field is being made available. And yet, on one hand you say we should be adding ball fields, on the other hand you say we should not be putting money, we should be putting money into infrastructure instead. I think we are addressing, and this is another recreational need in our city. Ball fields are one. This is another recreational need as expressed by the citizens of Sammamish. You've said that the city has proposed a 1% increase in taxes for the next 2 years. That has been proposed. It hasn't been decided yet. There are several members of the council here. There are others that are not here, and it is up to them to make that decision in the future, but it is not a given at this time. You said that other cities have expanded tax base. I mentioned this, and they're better off than us, is what you said. And we've pointed out that that's not the case, and they've had to lay off significantly. You say they have other costs, and yet you say we should expand. Yeah, that's a possibility. Yes, maybe we should expand our tax base. The fact of the matter is we are in tremendous fiscal shape, and we find ourselves with a large surplus that can be used in one way or another. And it has been proposed that we move ahead with a community center. It has not been decided. The city has gone out and said we want an advisory vote. We want to check in with our constituents to find out if this is the way we want to move. We have said that this will benefit a limited number of people. You have said this will benefit a limited number of people, and yet you say we should preserve tennis on the plateau for the 200 families that play tennis. I think it's very reasonable to believe that there will be far more than 200 families that would enjoy the use of the proposed community aquatic center. You said we should invest in our future, we should support the development of the infrastructure for town center, and yet it seems to me that that is also providing money for private developers, assisting private developers by developing that infrastructure. If we go and make improvements to the roads, to the intersections, to assist the developers in coming in, then the city is bearing those costs as opposed to the developers. So it seems to me, on the one hand, that you're arguing that we should not have the government assisting private development, but you're also arguing the same thing is the way I see it there. The final argument I have is that exactly the purpose of this advisory vote is to determine what the citizens want. If the citizens come and say, 60% of them say, yes, we want this to happen, then I think most of us would say, well, that's the democratic process. That's great. If 60% want it, let's go forth with it. If 40% want it, I'm guessing, now it's an advisory vote, it's not a binding vote, but if I'm a city council member, I'll put it that way, if I'm a city council member and only 40% say they want to move forward on it, I'm not likely to vote in favor of moving forward with it. And I think that's the tremendous opportunity we have here. You know, I tremendously respect your points of view and your desire to influence other people as mine. And I'm in favor of this. I believe it's a tremendous benefit for our community. You believe our money should be spent differently. And that's great. That's what our democratic process is about. The bottom line is we have a choice. We have a choice coming up, and the citizens will have the opportunity to speak, and we'll move forward accordingly.
Can I respond
now? Let's let them finish their 10 minutes if they want to, or would you rather have a response at this time?
The only other comment that I would
That's fine.
the only thing that I would really add to that, at some point we were talking about taxes before and returning the money. And the reality of it is money that is just sitting in a reserve, not being utilized, is going backwards. And this is an investment in the community. If you put money in the bank and you're making 0.3% interest, 0.03% interest on it, you're going backwards. There's no reason to accumulate these reserves with prudent investments or prudent use of the money. There's no reason to have this reserve unless we're going to use it for something. So if it's building roads in the town center, the city has to make a decision to invest this money somehow. This is a good use of the money. This is a good time. It's a proper time for the city to invest into a community center. The money sitting in a reserve really isn't doing any of the citizens here any benefit.
Any other input?
We have
That's fine. Well,
yeah, you just tell me when we're done.
no, we're done now.
All right. This is democratic. This is democratic process at work. So, you know what's wonderful about the democratic process is that we can all be sitting in here and have tremendous disagreement. And as a matter of fact, and if we took a poll right now, we might find out that there's a majority one way or the other. But the fact of the matter is, all of us in this room probably don't represent the community. And as Hank has just said, the council has decided to put this to a vote and decided to do it. I believe that they decided to do it at the presidential election for exactly the reason that they would get a large number of the citizenry to actually vote. And you know, that's the democratic process. That's the way we make decisions. I can certainly tell you not everything that happens in the city or in politics are the way I like it or the way I would run it if I was king. But that's not the way it is in this country. All right.
Can I just clarify, just for a second? When I was talking about the reserve, though, obviously you have a reserve to protect yourself in a downtime, but this is excess reserve. That's the problem.
I'm just thinking you must spend all the money. Bob has no savings. Don't be Bob's financial planner. All right. So Hank, you brought up a number of different things, right? The proposed 1% increase you brought up. I brought it up. City brought it up. Why did the city even bring it up then? Okay, that'd be the question. I'll go to city council. I'll ask that one too when I get there. Why propose a 1% increase for the next 2 years of your budget cycle if you have $25 million sitting around there to spend? Seems to me doesn't seem like we would need it, but they put it forward. The ball fields, we still need additional ball fields. Trust me on that. And you can talk to any of the coaches. I'd invite you. In fact, tomorrow night at East Lake from 7 to 9, if you want to come out and meet with some of the coaches and hear it, you can, and you can take that first on. I'm going to let Arthur deal with the tennis situation and 200 families. I'm not a tennis player, imagine that. So I'll give that one over to him. Infrastructure of town center and private development. Here's the difference with that. The infrastructure that would go in for town center would generate revenue back into the community via property tax, via some retail sales tax. That's the difference that you're going to get from that versus a gym facility that we're looking at. And the advisory vote, we're given one option on the advisory vote. So it's an advisory vote for this one project. It's not an advisory vote on, do you want this, do you want that? You know, we just had a terrible incident happen at Skyline High School with a threat. I was there the day after. They asked for other parents, because my son's a sophomore there, they asked for parents to come in and protect the halls because they didn't have enough security up there. So the $25 million, you know, maybe we could fund, did you ever think of that? We could fund another school resource officer, have another police officer up there. I mean, there were some scared folks at that school. 16 parents showed up that next day. And we stayed there throughout the day, just walking the halls to make sure nothing occurred. So the $25 million, that's a lot of money. Think about it. City could do ball fields. City could have infrastructure. City could have extra resource officers in the schools if they wanted. City could have extra police officers patrolling the streets. City could do street improvements. You could do all that stuff for less than this one single project cost.
Okay, I think we're going to,
Do I get just a couple minutes?
a quick lesson.
I just love where I think I say one thing and then I have it repeated to me and it's not what I said, so it just kind of gets me. But, you know, a couple things. One, I didn't say I'm against investing in, you know, when I'm looking at investing, I'm looking at the YMCA, as Jim said, it's a non-income producing asset from an income standpoint. I'm fiscally responsible. I'm looking, if we're going to make some investments, let's look at the return on what those investments would bring. So I'm not into spending money, I'm into spending money prudently and smartly. As to tennis, my issue there is, we start with this aquatic center, because I heard kept saying we need all this new pool facilities and everything around here, but while we're thinking about aquatics, we never thought about tennis. And one might cause another problem to eliminate. So when government spends or is thinking about spending money, they need to think about all the repercussions about what they do. There's a reason why, government and everything like that, they really aren't supposed to enter. They have too many competitive advantages. They don't pay taxes. They can tax up the yin-yang when they want to. It's just not good for business.
Arthur,
Okay.
it's the people's time now. Questions from the audience?
That's the important part.
Where are we going?
Okay, I'm Tim Tirico, and I'm a parent. I have a son at Carson Elementary and a son at Inglewood. And I give you that perspective just so you understand where I'm coming from. Also, my third year on the East Lake Little League board. So I get ball fields. We also need a swimming pool for my kids to swim at. I want a swimming pool for all the high schools competitives to swim at. I want more gym space. My kid could not play on the East Lake Wolves last year because of gym space. They would not make a second team for fifth graders. We need everything this facility has. I've gone to the Primate membership site. It's $400 initiation and $198 a month for my family. The numbers that were said earlier are incorrect according to the website. So, if anyone, those are comments, and I'd love to hear responses.
Well, my comment comes is that I looked at a letter sent to the city by a private developer who wanted to build a 40,000 square foot facility with 2 pools and 2 gymnasiums at no cost to the city. So I agree with you. We need everything what you're saying, but we don't need to be spending $25 million to get it. That's my response.
But my question would be, if they come in and build that, are we at the $400 and $200 a month? Because they're $100 a month for my family. It's $2,400 versus $1,200. That's huge. Just as you said, $1,200 would be a big consideration.
Well, let me put it to you this way. They figured it would cost them $15 million to build, but the city wanted to kick in $10 million, so they didn't have a huge debt overhanging them. I bet they could definitely cut down what they need to charge. Unfortunately, you're asking the private sector here that has to actually go into debt to build these facilities, and so they have to cover their debt and make a little bit of profit. And so if the city really needs these facilities, I think there's other alternatives. This is the problem I have. There's been nothing else looked at. I would love to be able to answer your question saying we've looked at these 3 alternatives and the why is the best decision. And it may be, but I don't have anything to go by other than what I'm reading from different sources. But I have no argument with you other than the process is wrong. It's flawed. And that's why we need to vote this thing down so we could go through an actual process, not behind closed doors. We don't know what's going on behind there, what's the deals being made. Let's put it on the table.
Okay. Any response?
Actually, I would want to ask
Do you want to get the mic?
I would want to just note that maybe one of the council members would make a comment. My understanding, after listening to the council meetings, that there were other considerations that were made. Maybe one of them can,
Well, the council
when it's
members
appropriate.
They're going to be on the, they are on the
Right,
agenda.
when it's
so-
appropriate, I'd like to hear them comment on that.
I think it's also prudent to note that their Y is a nonprofit venture. Their primary objective is servicing the community, providing services for the community, improving the community. With all due respect, private enterprise has to fight the bottom line. They're there to make a profit. They are providing a service, but they're there to make sure that they make money for their investors. I can make a donation to the YMCA so that they can move forward with their objective to improve the situation for recreational facilities and other opportunities for the public in their community. If I give a $1,000 donation to a private fitness club, it's not tax deductible, number one, because again, I'm not getting anything back on my investment. If I'm making a donation, I may not getting any direct benefit, but I know that I'm improving the community by working with a nonprofit. I think that's an important consideration in this discussion.
Any input? Marcia?
I'd just like to add to Hank's comments that the Y is a charity, we are a nonprofit, we're 501c3, and an important part of our mission is to serve those who cannot afford our services. So as one of the things that we do is that we do provide scholarships to people who cannot afford YMCA membership. And so on average, it would be somewhere between 10 and 12% of the people that are participating at the YMCA are on some sort of financial assistance. And this would be consistent with what we believe to be the case here in Sammamish as well. Even though we want to believe that we're a very affluent community, that there are many, many folks that are struggling to be able to pay bills, to pay their mortgage. And with the Y, this is a place where we think that connecting and the partnership with the city, I think, makes all of us stronger. I think it takes away the opportunity, or takes away the burden that each of us has to bring a community center or YMCA, but together it makes us stronger. I think that the ideas of having the Arts Commission, which is not something that the Y would do, would be beautiful and would be part of this community center / YMCA. So this is a fiscally responsible way to approach this, because we're doing this in a way that we can combine and be healthy and provide a place for everyone in our community to come to.
Another question?
Can I respond to their comment really quick?
No.
Okay, hi, my name is Jeannie Gustafson. I'm a journalist for Sammamish's Quapac. And I just had a couple of questions just for clarification. I've seen the rates, the proposed rates for annual fees and all that. I was wondering, because I come from a place where, in eastern Washington, where there are Y facilities, and the daily rate that I'm familiar with is $10 for an individual for full day use of the facility, $20 for a family of 4, which to me, if a person didn't want to buy the annual membership, that's not completely out of range. So I was just wondering if that's going to be available at the new facility. But I have a second question also. And I guess my question for you, Arthur, is if there's an active and great tennis facility, which my son takes tennis lessons there, it's a fabulous place, what would be the need to have this Sammamish Community Center that's proposed be a tennis facility also, if that need is already being filled, I guess?
First part.
Yeah, so we will have daily rates. So if you were a family that you wanted just to pay a daily rate, you certainly could do that. We envision that with the the bigger aquatic center, that we'll have folks that will just want to use the pool from time to time, and that will be something that will be available. And to the comments, I guess, around the costs and the membership fees and what does that include, I think a really big factor is that with the Y membership, it's for the most part all-inclusive except for swim lessons and personal training. So your family membership of $107 a month is going to include fitness classes. It's going to include access for your kids to go to Adventure Zone. It's going to include senior programs. It's going to include team nights. It's going to include senior nights. It's going to include family nights. Those are all part of what we provide that's part of that $107 membership, monthly membership fee. And as a membership organization, we believe that connecting and finding ways to be a part of that greater community, that it really does enrich the lives of everyone across the
Well,
world.
you're going to have some time here in a moment, so I'd rather hold off and let Arthur address this question.
Well, just look at this. Kumbaya, we all love the Y.
Well, and
Not
I
the
love
issue.
the tennis facility. We use it.
Yeah, and but the issue isn't whether we love the Y and whether the Y should build a new facility. The question is spending 25, 30, 35 million when the 40,000 square foot facility was probably more. If you really want to ask the question, what would they envision before this happened to be building up here for what, and if they built what they wanted, I believe, talking with the side, that they both exist in harmony. The issue comes is when you take a Y and you make it this Y on steroids with no